Talked a little bit about water, but the body toxins from water that's coming in, water is definitely the key to life. I mean, everything functions around the water. 90% of the population is dehydrated chronically. Fluoride, chlorine, arsenic, they're finding so many things at high levels in the water. Even with I didn't put it up here, but even with the fracking that's going on, which is damaging the earth. I mean, people are getting natural gas in their water that they're drinking. Pesticides, prescription medications, the antidepressant residue that's showing up in the water supply over in Europe right now is so high, it's almost equivalent of you taking an antidepressant if you drink about a half a gallon of water a day out of the tap. Parasites in the water, bacteria, heavy metals in the water. Another controversial issue is fluoride. Fluoride is the second most common toxic agent known to man, just behind arsenic. And dental fluorosis is so common right now in children because children are drinking fluoridated water, tap water. Anytime you go to a restaurant, they're using tap water the majority of the time. You go to coffee shop in the morning, they're probably using tap water for that. Anytime that you have at a restaurant, you eat any meals, most likely it was cooked with some sort of water. Fluoride toxicity is everywhere. I mean, it's one of those things where you pretty much can't avoid it. One of the things that it does is it calcifies the pineal gland. If any one of you have heard of your third eye, it's the pineal gland in the middle of your head. It's what, according to scientists or, researchers in spirituality say, that's your connection with God. You can actually take and dissect the pineal gland, and it's made of rods and cones, just like your eyeballs are. Pineal gland is the organ that sucks in fluoride the most and the fastest of every organ in the body. Also, the pineal gland helps regulate your hormones, serotonin, melatonin, all your feel-good hormones. Basically, what you have with fluoride is a calcification of the pineal gland, which actually ends up making you lethargic. It makes you almost like a zombie walking around. It dumbs people down. It lowers the IQ in children. I mean, I highly suggest you do tons of research on the effects of fluoride in your body. Mental retardation is another thing. It's a byproduct of the fertilizer and aluminum manufacturing, and it's used severely. Again, most of the countries in Europe have banned fluoridation, and Dallas actually just banned fluoridation. So how to eliminate toxins from water? Water purification system. If you have the money, you can do it for the whole house, but make sure that you get a unit that will eliminate fluoride. And I do have some of those units available. If you contact us, I'll give you some of that information. But a lot of people don't realize that they wash their clothes in tap water, they wash their dishes, all that stuff. We're soaking up all the fluoride, and they take a shower. And a 7-minute hot shower is the equivalent of you drinking about 4 to 5 glasses of tap water. What I always recommend is to drink purified or distilled water with organic apple cider vinegar. I like distilled water, but distilled water is kind of a dead water. It's clean, the fluoride and everything's out of it. Even the purified water still might have some fluoride in it. But when you drink distilled water, it's fine to drink for a short period of time because it'll actually help you detoxify. It'll grab things because it's hungry. But then it might actually start taking some of your minerals or nutrients from your body. So I always recommend to add a little organic raw apple cider vinegar into it. And that puts the minerals, the life force back into it, the nutrients. I mean, organic apple cider vinegar, raw apple cider vinegar is probably the cheapest, best healing agent that I can think of that everybody should be on, because it's so good for you. There's like 150 different health uses for organic apple cider vinegar. Rainwater is good if you live in a good place. If you just let it rain for like 15 minutes first and then collect it, it's pretty clean. If you're into rainwater, it has a real high energy content to it. But 80 to 100% of your daily liquid intake should be water. The body, like I said, and the earth is made of water. After you're done breastfeeding, your body doesn't tell you and cry out for colas and alcohol and all the other stuff. The only thing your body needs and wants is water. And if you do have a pool and you're soaking in a chlorine pool or something, I would look into getting a salt or a copper ozone type pool system to prevent the chlorine. Next, we look at the body toxins that you're going to be exposed to from different beverages, colas, juices, energy drinks, bottled beverages, refined sugar, high fructose corn syrup. High fructose corn syrup is actually genetically modified, or it's made from genetically modified corn. And recent tests have shown that it's high in metals, especially mercury. So look at the label. And actually, they're trying to relabel right now. The lobbyists are trying to relabel high fructose corn syrup under different names like natural corn sugar and stuff like that, because so many people are looking at high fructose corn syrup. And the artificial sweeteners, again, sucralose, aspartame, saccharin, those are the ones that you want to avoid. Those are the ones that for sure have been documented to cause brain damage and all different types of symptoms. Coffee, alcohol, tea, milk. I'm not saying that you need to completely give up everything in your life, because I'm just going to say that now before I get too far into this. Because it's really about moderation. It really is. I mean, it's when you do things constantly. The body is amazing. You know, if you want to have a cup of coffee, just make sure it's organic coffee made with good water. The toxins in coffee are because 80% of the world's coffee supply is heavily pesticide. If you've ever talked to or been to a coffee plantation, they'll always tell you the worst thing is the bugs. They never control the bugs. And they spray the coffee beans heavily with pesticides. So you're taking the pesticide toxic coffee and you're replacing it with organic, non-toxic. All you're doing with all this is you're just eliminating the toxic things. You're replacing the toxic processed foods with organic foods. Now, if you drink like 5, shots of espresso, 7 shots of espresso a day, and you do it every single day, then that might become a problem in your body. But if everything is in moderation with your body, that's the way it works. That's why, some people you see that look healthy get sick, and some other people that you would think that should be sick as can be are not sick. Really, that has to do with their emotional state, which we'll get into, because that was one of the puzzling things that we had to research, a project that we did years ago. This is what goes into a normal cow. Vaccines, rendered food. You don't even want to know what rendered food is. Most of the food, it's all dead animals and all kinds of stuff that they mix it up and they mix it in with the dried food and they feed it. Hormones, pesticides, antibiotic. They actually feed cows sometimes even other cow blood. So milk is extremely dangerous if it's not organic, and you can look up. They just tested milk, regular milk, and they found something like 300 pus molecules per glass of milk, because all the cows, their nipples are inflamed and infected because they all have mastitis when they use those machines. So a bunch of pus gets into the milk, and they found over 50 pesticides in the milk too. And they found actually radiation in there and all kinds of stuff. So, and milk is one of those things that's just not good for the body anyway, unless it's raw goat's milk or raw range-fed organic cow's milk. Going into some aspartame, this is the scary thing about aspartame. It's like so many people drink diet drinks. Aspartame breaks it down into methanol, which is wood alcohol in your body. Then the methanol converts to formaldehyde in the body. Aspartame accounts for over 75% of all the adverse reactions reported to the FDA. Those are reported. Who in here has ever reported anything to the FDA, an adverse reaction? Nobody. Over 75% of the adverse reactions, FDA. People say, what's the one thing I can do that's going to make a difference? I'll say, well, first you have to clean up your air. Second, you have to get off artificial sweeteners because they're so damaging. Here's what happens. The formaldehyde then causes gradual and eventually severe damage to the neurological system, the immune system, and causes permanent genetic damage at extremely low doses. It's approved for human consumption. How do you eliminate toxins from beverages? You reduce all the toxic beverages, you drink purified, distilled water with organic apple cider vinegar, herbal teas, organic herbal teas, because now they're finding high fluoride and chemical content in the teas coming from China. Start using hemp milk, almond milk, coconut milk. I mean, those are great milks. You can even experiment and mix them together. Raw goat's milk. Or if you need to have cow's milk, then you can use organic raw cow's milk if you can find somebody to provide it to you. And better yet, just fresh vegetable juice, fruit juice, not the processed pasteurized stuff, but the fresh vegetable juice and fruit juices. You can even buy these at some of the new organic food stores and stuff like that already bottled. Next, to move on to the body toxins from microbes and parasites. This is a big problem because like every single person that we tested for every disease was overgrown with candida, yeast, fungus, mycoplasms. Definition of a parasite is any harmful organism that lives off a host organism, which means that it's bacteria, virus, fungus, anything. What they do is they take your nutrients and then they go to the bathroom inside your system. And what do these organisms secrete? They secrete isopropyl alcohol, formalin, formaldehyde-type compounds, which ultimately keep your body acidic. Your body should be slightly alkaline. 90%, I would say, are infested. And, like Louis Pasteur, he's the one that came up with the germ theory, saying that the germs are what caused disease years ago and everything like that. And it's all about the germ, the germ, the germ. Basically, that's what modern science and pathology has been based on, and still to this day, that's what it's based on. On his deathbed, he said, there's something that I have to tell everybody, and that is the germ. I was wrong. All these years I was wrong. The germ is nothing. The terrain is everything. And they didn't publish what he said and kept it the same. It's all about the terrain. The germ can't live in the body or in a terrain that's healthy. So it's not the germ that's making you sick, it's the terrain that's making you sick. This is a tapeworm right here. How does that look? Experts estimate up to 4 out of 5 people may have parasites living in their body and don't even know it. If you eat sushi, you probably have some of these cruising around in your systems. But that's why it's so important to make sure that you're going to be exposed to these things. That's the life that we're living right now. So how do you eliminate the microbes from your system? First, look at that. Tapeworms in sushi and other raw fish attach to the wall of the intestine and can lay up to 1 million eggs a day. So you do it by adjusting the terrain, and you do that with good probiotics. I mean, there's one probiotic out there which is called the Bacillus laterosporus strain. You can't find it anywhere because there's only a small company in California that has the patent on it. That thing works. We tested a bunch of different probiotics. That one works really good to repair. I like the soil-based microorganisms too. But pH regulation, worms and stuff, they don't like to live in an acid. They do like to live at an acid pH, actually. They don't like when it becomes alkaline. And then silver works really good, colloidal silver. I like an atomic silver or plasma silver. Oregano oil. I actually developed a product specifically for parasites just because there wasn't anything out there that I could put my name behind and sell that was all organic and that was processed the right way. And then just boosting the immune system. You boost your immune system by cleansing. Do a parasite cleanse once a year, 2 times a year, whatever. It's not that hard. We've come a long way. Years ago, when you're talking about cleansing the body, it was just like taboo. There was no way. You had to mix all these shakes and these concoctions that were so thick you couldn't even swallow them, and you just couldn't. I mean, it was horrible. But now it's gotten a lot better. So, body toxins from physical, emotional, and spiritual stress. Now, this is huge because all the negativity on TV and just, people's lives and stress in the workplace, and it's all about just fear Fear this, fear that, fear. Fear automatically drops your immune system by 50%. Anger, depression, anxiety, jealousy, resentment, negativity, the lack of exercise, which makes you more vulnerable to stress, lack of sleep, negative emotions. Negative emotions cause constipation and cause problems in the bowel. Stress will put you in a sympathetic state. There's two types of states your body can be in. You can be in a sympathetic state, which is a fight or flight. That means that your body stops digestion, it stops all the working of all the organs, and puts blood into your legs and your heart and everywhere you need to run as fast as you can because it's a serious situation and you need to get out of there. Here's what we found. We looked all over and started talking to people. I just put this information up about 6 months ago. Practically 75 to 90% of the people are living the majority of their life in a sympathetic state. And your body can't heal when it's in a sympathetic state. When you eat, it's so important. People are eating in front of the TV, sympathetic. They're eating when they're driving, sympathetic. They're eating in front of their computer while they're working, sympathetic. All of these things, when you eat in a sympathetic state, your body your digestion stops. When you're in sympathetic, your digestion stops. One of the easiest and fastest things I can tell everybody to do right now that will make a world of difference is to take 9 deep, calm yourself down, take 9 deep breaths. It's proven. Because then we looked at what's the fastest way to get your body from sympathetic to parasympathetic. 9 deep breaths. They studied it. Meditation is awesome, but before you eat at night, when you sit down at the dinner table, don't eat while you're driving, all that stuff. You need to be able to process and digest your foods, and you need to be in a parasympathetic state. If you have kids, get them used to it now. Sit around the dinner table and just hold hands and just say, we're going to relax a little bit, take 9 deep breaths. Now we can all say something positive, bless our food, blah, blah, blah. And then eat. And I guarantee you'll notice a big difference. You won't get that bloating, you won't be all strained and all that. So how do you eliminate toxins from physical, emotional, and spiritual stress? No, not take antidepressants. You do things that are exciting. You know what? I used to ask the patients that came in to see us, I'd be like, so what do you do for fun? And they would just sit there and start crying. Seriously, they would be, I don't know. I'll say, what makes you happy? And they would say, I don't know. I mean, that is why they're sitting there sick, because they have no excitement and happiness and love in their life. That's like the best healing medicine you can get right there. Here's some of the things: exercise, massage, sunlight. These are the things that actually cause you to decrease stress naturally, anxiety. Having fun, hobbies, doing stuff like that, music, relaxation, meditation, learning about self, setting goals, adequate sleep. I mean, that's huge. That'll affect your stress levels big time. What it all boils down to is your health, because if you think back to the time in your life where you were the most self-confident, when you looked in the mirror and you were like, wow, I look good today, I'm going to have fun. Usually I ask people that and they're like, yeah, that was when I was like 14, 12, something like that. I was like, yeah, you had a lot of self-confidence then, did you? Yeah, I was like, you could just do anything you put your mind to back then, huh? And they're like, yeah. Well, they were healthy back then. Health equals self-confidence, and self-confidence equals success. I mean, that's how you're successful in your life. This is something that I hope everybody takes, because I deal with these phone calls every single day, and it's getting worse and worse. The DSM is the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual that the psychiatrists use to label mental illness. There's never been any proof of mental illness. There's 943 pages that lists out 374 mental disorders. That's a $330 billion industry. Psychiatric drugs kill an estimated 3,000 people every month. 17 million children are taking psychiatric drugs so dangerous, like antidepressants, for example, that cause suicide and hostility in children and adolescents. There are parents and moms that call my office, and I almost start crying when I talk to them. their teachers recommended. They were acting up. They were depressed because they broke up with their boyfriend. 12-year-old girl. Her mom took her in. They put her on antidepressants. 5 days later, she committed suicide in her closet. That's one. Thousands it's happening to. FDA issued a warning about drugs such as Adderall, Ritalin, Concerta can cause suicidal as well as violent, aggressive, and psychotic behavior and can cause heart attack, stroke, and sudden death. They have mental disorders now for like fingernail biting, looking at somebody the wrong way. I mean, basically, if you don't get a drug when you leave the psychiatrist's office, they have a code that labels you for mental ill because you didn't take the drug from the psychiatrist. Yes, you will be labeled with mental illness if you leave the psychiatrist's office without taking a medication. And that goes on your record forever. So then if anyone ever pulls anything up, right now, by the time our kids get to be 18, everybody's going to have mental illness. They're going to have a record of mental illness. Right now, there are children 5 years old committing suicide. That is on record. And there are 4-year-olds being put on psychotropic drugs. That is sick. So, the next time a doctor tells you you need to, or the teacher or somebody in the school tells you something's wrong with your kid or that you're having problems, it's not you're having problems and you're mentally ill. What the problem is, you're eating GMOs, you're eating an excitotoxin somewhere, you're consuming any one of these things, fluoride, all that stuff. You need to start looking at your environment. Because I work with the Autism Association too, and a lot of times the kids that with autism are just toxic. That's it. So body toxins from electromagnetic and microwave radiation. Heavy users of cell phones displayed a 240% increased risk for a malignant tumor on the side of the head where they typically held the phone. You're going to be exposed to EMFs and stuff a lot of different places. Big screen TVs, computers, the Wi-Fi in schools. They're taking Wi-Fi out of schools in Europe because of so many complaints from the parents because their kids are having a hard time concentrating. They're complaining of headaches. A child's skull is really thin, so they half the size or more than an adult skull. So the frequencies pass easily into the child's brain, especially kids now that you see with cell phones that are 12 and under. Really, you don't get the thickness until you're about 15 or 16, maybe even up to 18. There's plenty of documentation out there on this as well. You can just type in dangers of Wi-Fi in schools. Digital clocks, power lines. Smart meters is the new thing that's causing all kinds of damage. Smart meters, from what I hear, there's going to be an opt-out option, but if you have a smart meter on your house, I would highly, highly recommend. They're going to be bombarding high-level microwave frequencies throughout your whole house with those smart meters. They can tell exactly when you turn on the lights. They can tell exactly what appliances you're using. They want to learn every single thing about you so they can sell it to the big companies in advertising and stuff like that. Fault lines, geopathic stress, sedentary lifestyle. Mammograms, ladies, please do not go get mammograms. Thermography is a better option. You don't want to radiate your breast tissue. CT scans, there's always better options. You can get an MRI, no contrast, which is a better option than a CT when they inject you with all the radiation stuff. And please, the airport scanners, even though they tell you, the TSA says, oh, these airport scanners are safe, and everybody just walks through, and I go there, I'm like, I cannot believe this. In order to see that high level of distinction, you get bombarded with ionizing radiation. They will not release any tests because it's under Homeland Security and TSA and all that show. But I know people that work for the companies and they're saying they would never get inside of it. So if you go to the airport, all you have to say is opt out. I want to opt out. And you'll be able to opt out of that body scanner. Each time you go through that body scanner, what I've heard is the equivalent of like 10 to 15 x-rays. Nuclear radiation, I put this on because it's definitely something that's not in the mainstream media, but we are getting calls every single day from parents and doctors, especially in California and the upper Northwest, from seeing birth defects, all kinds of stuff is happening from Fukushima. You can go to the National Oceanic website and actually see all the radiation in the water. But it's something that you need to be aware of. There's some radiation particles. This is nuclear radiation. This is the stuff that has a serious effect on your DNA and on your genes. And how to protect yourself from that. I'm actually coming out with a new product pretty soon, a pill that you can take that will absorb strontium-90, cesium, and your uranium particles. And for the radioactive iodine, which is iodine-131, the best thing to do is take a nascent iodine. You know, everybody needs to supplement with their vitamins and minerals and stuff like that. And I'm more about, look, let's address the root cause of why you have problems. And that's why a lot of the practitioners, I always recommend, go see your natural healthcare practitioner, go see your chiropractor, because you really need somebody to like walk you through and help you with everything and, you know, kind of guide you. And if you need some different types of supplements, you know, that's fine. But first of all, the first thing you should always do is cleanse the body. I mean, a lot of times after you go through a deep cleansing, you know, 50% of your symptoms go away, and then the real stuff starts coming up. That's another thing that we found was, if a patient comes in and you're looking at their symptoms right here, if you say, what are your symptoms? I had headache, this, that. Well, doctors are going to go right off of those symptoms. That's not really what's going on in your body. We found that out. I didn't even know that. We found that out because we would take a complete history, a detailed history, which the average time spent with physicians is less than 7 minutes. How are you going to find out what's wrong with somebody in that amount of time? We'd take like a 2-hour history of the patient. Yeah, where do you go? Do you go overseas? Is that? Find out everything about them. Then get their symptoms. So okay, first thing we're going to do is we're going to clean you out really good. You know, you're 50 years, you've been damaging your body. Let's just clean you. Clean them out really, really good. Then we say, okay, let's go back and do another health questionnaire after you're done cleansing. Those symptoms that were there to begin with, most of them were gone. And then all of a sudden, like maybe some new things popped up. That was like, it's like peeling an onion. That was like the real stuff that was happening. So that means that like all the people out there that are going to the doctor's office and telling them their symptoms, that's just what's on the outside. And that's what they're being treated for, instead of being cleaned up really good and finding out what the real problem is. One thing, though, that I found, and other doctors will tell you the same thing if they do a bunch of tests, is that practically every single person is iodine deficient. And it is such a vital nutrient. It used to be an iodized salt, but they took it out a long time ago and replaced it with bromine. Bromine, here, and this is why so many people are having endocrine and thyroid issues, and this is why you can't lose weight, and, you know, a million other things. Because iodine is part of a halogen. That's bromine, chlorine, fluorine, bromide, and iodine. Look at all the chlorine out there. Look at all the fluoride out there. Look at all the bromine. They replaced, took iodine out and put bromine in white bread years ago and took it out of the salt in most cases. So basically what's happened is we've had a severe iodine deficiency going on. If anyone ever suffers from any type of cyst in the body, fibrocystic breast disease, breast cancer, ovarian cyst, polycystic ovaries, anything like that, fatigue, I don't care, any type of system, most likely you're iodine deficient. Dr. Brownstein, wrote a book on iodine deficiency, tested 9,000 or something patients, close to 10,000 patients, and found 98% of them had an iodine deficiency. So what's happening? Everybody has thyroid problems. Everybody's, having all these cysts and all these problems everywhere. So iodine actually is a broad spectrum, or a great substance that is absorbed in your thyroid, but it can't be in your thyroid to regulate your thyroid if all the other fluoride and everything is there, because that competes for the receptor sites. It also helps clear up your pineal gland. It protects against radiation. Iodine's used for every cell in the body. So I would definitely look into, it also regulates the immune system and helps detoxify things from the body. So I would highly recommend iodine, especially I recommend it to pregnant women, because a lot of the time it's linked to autism, even though that's also linked to vaccinations. but every single kid, a lot of the children right now are deficient in iodine. So it's very important to give iodine to your children. I recommend only nascent iodine. That's the best one. So how to eliminate toxins from electromagnetic and microwave radiation? Throw away your microwave. Yes, it's going to take you a little bit extra time if you want to cook your meals, but you can get like maybe one of those far infrared ovens or convection ovens or something like that. There's a bunch of cell phone radiation protectors, computer radiation protectors. We just finished. I hired a team because there's so much stuff out there, and we get this question all the time. What can I do about radiation? There's a bunch of online, bunch of radiation, cell phone protectors, stuff you wear. But none of it really had scientific studies like I could take a reading of a cell phone and I could put the thing on there and then go back and take another reading and it would be gone. And then so we contacted the companies like, we're still getting a reading. And they're like, well, yeah, it's a geometric pattern in there, it's blocking it, but you can't really read it. So finally hired a team of people to do the research for 3 months to figure out and look at every single cell phone protector out there, every single computer protector, how to protect the house, your house from radiation, the best smart meter protectors, and everything you need, including clothing that you can wear if you're flying or whatever, if you're going to be close to some radiation or something like that, that will block it all. And we just published it all on our website. I don't have it all here. It would take forever to go through it. But if you go to globalhealingcenter.com and you just type in the search bar, radiation, you'll see all the, and I'm not, I don't even sell those companies' products. I just do it for the better good of society so you can go. I have them ranked. This is the best, second, third, fourth, or whatever. So I highly suggest you do that. Turn off your appliances when not in use. Replace the fluorescent lighting and standard light bulbs in your home and office with full spectrum or LED. And ladies of all ages should not wear wire bras or any wired frame garments because the wire frame will pick up the frequencies and transmit it into your breast tissue. That's why we're also seeing tremendous amount of cases of breast cancer increasing with cell phone use. And I've actually seen women walking to the mall and stuff that are carrying their cell phone inside their bra. They walk around like that. So those are the ways to protect yourself from the radiation. And Detoxidine is the iodine product that I actually helped develop and use, which is in a vegetable glycerin base, because most of them out there are in alcohol, and alcohol by itself is an endocrine disruptor. So, we had to kind of like reinvent the wheel and figure out what we can do and how you can take healthy stuff instead of, taking herbs and alcohol, ethanol, which is genetically modified and also an endocrine disruptor. So we do everything in a vegetable glycerin, which is safe and it tastes good and it's great to use. Body toxins from heavy metals. These are kind of hard to find, but arsenic, cadmium, aluminum, aluminum's everywhere in your deodorant, aluminum foil with the chemtrails, lead, foods, mercury. And the reason I put this up is because I'm going to talk to you later about doing a chemical and a heavy metal cleanse because it's really important. When you take, let's say, aluminum in the body, and that's another thing with breast cancer, women putting on aluminum deodorant and it's going into the breast tissue, and aluminum actually activates some of the mechanisms for cancer. And mercury amalgams and stuff like that too that you have in your mouth. When mercury comes in contact with aluminum, it's a violent reaction, see? So each one of these things that we're talking about today, these are all individual toxins, but a lot of times, if you mix two of these things together, or mix 4, 10, or 100,000 on a daily basis, who knows the reactions that's going to take place inside your body and what's going to happen. So I wanted to show everybody just a short video, and this is what happens if anyone in here has any mercury amalgams or silver fillings in their mouth. Mercury is so dangerous that just a tiny amount of the vapor can continually harm you over and over and over, and you can have fatigue and cancer, and you can have brain problems and lymphoma and all different types of problems.
So all mercury silver fillings leak substantial amounts of mercury constantly. The amount increases with any kind of stimulation, and as a result, mercury from fillings produces the majority of human exposure to mercury. The International Academy of Oral Medicine and Toxicology is extremely concerned about the anecdotal claims of safety by manufacturers and dental trade associations that are at variance with the published, peer-reviewed scientific evidence to the contrary. The precautionary principle requires action once the possibility of harm exists. It does not require proof beyond a shadow of a doubt that in the case of heavy metal and xenobiotic exposure is both nearly impossible and unnecessary, in our opinion. What you're seeing is mercury vapor coming off a 25-year-old silver amalgam filling in an extracted tooth. The background is a phosphorescent screen. The mercury vapor absorbs the fluorescent light, and you can see it as a shadow on the screen. This is mercury coming off a filling that was dipped in water that's the same temperature as the human body. This is a filling that was rubbed with a pencil eraser for just a few seconds. Like going to the hygienist and having her clean your teeth. These are not small amounts of mercury. If you can see it, it's more than 1,000 times higher than the Environmental Protection Agency will allow for the air that we breathe. What about the last time you went to the dentist and they drilled on your tooth? Here is the mercury vapor every time you raise the temperature to 110 degrees with hot coffee or warm water, or even chewed on it. Mercury comes off fillings every time you stimulate them, and that stimulation causes the mercury to continue to leak out of the fillings for an hour and a half at a minimum. Some people grind their teeth. Some people chew gum. The dentist might send an old gold crown to the dental lab to be welded. How about the dental personnel? They're not being given informed consent.
What happens is you're constantly absorbing that mercury vapor into your brain and into your bloodstream, and mercury accumulates in the liver, it accumulates in the kidneys, causes kidney disease. It's just one more thing that you're taking in on a regular basis. So I thought that was pretty shocking because, how many people do you know that drink coffee, or grind their teeth or whatever. So I highly recommend getting your mercury amalgams taken out, but when you do it, you have to go to a professional dentist that knows how to do it properly. People are going down to Mexico and doing it, and they're getting paralyzed from the waist down because mercury, if you breathe too much too fast, will paralyze you. So I like Dr. Glaros if you're in Houston. He's one of the best. He's biologicaldentist.com. People come from all over the world to see him, and he does all my work, but I don't have any mercury amalgams. So the next one is the body toxins from blocked neurological feedback. This is when the body produces toxins, and from spinal malfunction, auto accidents. I mean, everybody's had like a fall, got jolted around before, they've had some trauma or there's some surgery. Obesity causes this, chronic tooth infection causes malfunction. Any of this can cause blockages in the neurological system, in the spine or somewhere, to where you're not getting the proper signals from your nerves to your organs so your organs can function properly. So how to eliminate toxins from neurological feedback? Chiropractic adjustments, massage, stretching, chi machine works pretty good, acupuncture, inversion table where you lean upside down. Weight loss is one of the best ways to just get that extra weight off you. Rebounding, yoga, Pilates, keeping your mouth clean, no fluoride toothpaste. But one thing that I really like is oil pulling, and we've used that for a long time with either, I like to use sesame oil one day and then maybe mix in some coconut oil another day. But oil pulling is great. It's where you switch the oil around in your mouth from anywhere from 5 to 20 minutes, and then you spit it out and rinse your mouth out. And what it does is it takes and pulls all the toxins from your blood and chemicals and cleans your mouth, and in some cases even whitens your teeth with coconut oil. Solutions to reactivate your self-healing mechanism, because that's really what we're all talking about, is the self-healing mechanism, is education. Find out about what's causing your self-healing mechanism to be suppressed. and then detoxification and cellular cleansing. This is the key because, I mean, obviously, you know, I talk to people and they're like, I don't have the money to do all that. I can't do all that stuff. It's always about money. I got to buy a water purification system, this. It's baby steps. Start doing one thing at a time. The next time you need salt, get Himalayan crystal salt. The next time you need, you know, constantly, it's like there's a big, long staircase of health, okay? And you're right here. Every day, are you going down one step of health, the stair of health, or are you staying there, or are you going up one stair? 1 month, you say, okay, well, I'm going to replace, you know, I'm going to stop eating GMOs, I'm going to do gluten, I'm going to do that. Actually, I don't recommend you do everything at once because it's too traumatic. You just start slowly, you know, let's say this week you're going to eliminate artificial sweeteners from your diet. Boom, you just walked up 3 steps. This week, you're going to the store, you're going to buy organic instead of going to your normal store. That's huge. You just went up like 1,000 steps. But it's all about, you know, making those changes. You know, next weekend, take the whole family out to, you know, a plant store and ask the person there, you know, what are good indoor plants that I can use, you know, for my area. And they'll say, okay, yeah, these work really good. Does the sun come through the window? Yeah, I have one window there. And they'll help you out. Then that weekend, put plants in your house. So all you're doing is you know, eventually you're getting healthier and healthier and healthier and healthier, and you're making all these changes. If you want to make all of them at once, go ahead and do it. But you have to continually cleanse your body. Do an intestinal cleansing, liver and gallbladder cleansing, kidney cleansing, chemical and toxic metal cleansing, parasite cleansing. The reason I put weekly intestinal cleansing on there is because that's where everything comes in. And I mean, if you're constipated, you know, that's what has to be cleaned on a weekly basis. You don't have to do it every day, but you know, I recommend using oxygen-based cleansers because all the herbal-based cleansers out there, like the psyllium, cascara, all that, can cause permanent damage to the bowel. I mean, the laxative industry is $1 billion a year industry. $1 billion. It's one of the biggest industries that there is. So, doing all those cleanses, we have our cleanses online, but you know, research it. If your doctor has cleanses, that's great. I mean, I'm not saying you need to do all my stuff. All I'm saying is this is the key to health. This is the secret to health. Right here. The earth cleanses itself on a regular basis. You can look, you know, we've lost all this. I mean, okay, you take a shower every day to rinse the outside of your body, but what are you doing to rinse the inside of your body? Just think if you were to take everything you eat for a day, the normal standard American diet, mix it all up and blend it in a trash can, all the coffees, the 62-ounce cola, you know, the cheesecake, all that, mix it in there, the bottle of wine, and then pour it all over the top of you. And then let it sit, do the same thing every day for 40 years. You know, that's the kind of stuff that the inside of our body is having to deal with, but nobody's talking about cleansing the inside of your body on a regular basis. And that is what, once you cleanse your body and keep your body clean, then your self-healing mechanism starts to kick in. But it's about changing your environment and reducing your stress. Supplementation, you know, and then the external support, the chiropractic, the massage, and then eating a healthy diet. I mean, and then the last thing is opening up your elimination routes, you know, so you can get the stuff out of your system. The more healthy you eat, the more water you drink is automatically going to improve your bowel movements and your urination. You're going to be exercising more. You know, if you don't want to do hardcore exercise, use a rebounder. That's going to, you know, make you breathe a little bit faster. It's going to open up elimination routes. That's why a lot of women, you know, their menstrual cycles are irregular. That's a telltale sign that they're toxic and they need to start cleaning themselves up. When we had so many people that contacted us for fertility, they would say, I spent, you know, $200,000 in the last 4 years. We can't get pregnant. I said, you'll be pregnant in 3 months. Go through this intestinal cleanse, go through this liver and gallbladder cleanse, go through this parasite cleanse. I always use chemical and heavy metal cleansing for last because I don't want to pull too many chemicals and heavy metals out unless the liver's already clean and can handle it. And every single time, not one case, after they just cleaned their body, they were pregnant within 90 days. Now, why do you think the body doesn't get pregnant? Do you think the body wants a child coming in that's toxic? No, it doesn't. I mean, it's that simple. We went over the elimination routes, how a healthy body eliminates toxins. People are waking up and doing more research because they're going to the doctor and they're not getting answers. And now, thank God for the internet, because you can actually look up your symptoms and everything. But people are going to the doctor and saying, well, can I take this herb with this medication, or can I take this? And the doctor doesn't know. So, doctors, you and everybody else out there are actually changing the world, because doctors now are being forced into learning about, they're not learning this yet, but this was one of the biggest seminars for doctors that I just did out in California, and there was 4,000 doctors in the audience that actually wanted to learn this information. That would have never happened 10 years ago. And I did basically the same thing. I did the same thing today that I did there a couple months ago. So it's great that everything's working out. We're going into that, addressing the root cause of disease instead of addressing the symptoms of disease.
إن أعجبك الفيديو لا تنسى الإعجاب والاشتراك في القناة.